All right, and we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast, where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. I am joined today by two of my favorite co-hosts, Meg Erber from SNS Activewear and Stephen McFadden from Perfect Promotions and More. We've also got a special guest from Bella and Canvas. Her name is Megan Spire. She's kind of a badass over there, but we'll get to her and the rest of the group in just a minute. Just wanted to mention that we are actually brought to you today by Promo Show. Promoshow.com. You guys need to check them out. Okay, there's over 130 exhibitors there exhibiting live in a virtual only trade show. It is a great opportunity for you guys to go and get all the information that you need to know about, all the great new product information, all the great information that you can get from your suppliers, your favorite suppliers. There's been over 71,000 unique viewers and over 30,000 hits since they started back on March 24th. So definitely get over there if you haven't checked out promoshow.com, or you can search Facebook at Promoshow PC and it'll pop right up. With that being said, welcome to today's episode. I'm going to introduce you to Megan Spire. We've got a little bit of a backstory on her. She's been with Bella and Canvas for 9 years. She started out as a sales assistant and has worked her way up to the vice president of sales at Bella and Canvas. Like I said, a bit of a badass. And basically, we're going to talk a little bit today about navigating the new normal and how Bella and Canvas has branched out to sort of meet the face mask need that is in the industry, and how they were sort of one of the first people actually to sort of jump on board. With that being said, Megan, welcome. I appreciate you being here today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Absolutely, my pleasure. It's been a wild ride since this all started. I swear early March feels like 2 years ago. I didn't know that I could actually be busier than I was, and somehow retooling our entire manufacturing operation overnight turned out to be an incredible endeavor, to say the least. We initially got started, it's been kind of this life cycle where we started first working with, we volunteered to join the Textile Coalition, which a bunch of industry brands had partnered together, and we're working with the government to produce sewn masks. And then we looked at what we could do from a cutting perspective to really make an impact. And so we quite literally overnight, I will never forget that Friday night when we made the decision to do it, and watching and just the way that our team pulled together. And it was like the craziest 48 hours, I think, of my entire life. that Saturday, Sunday, trying to get everything up and running and figuring out how to not only manufacture a brand new product overnight, but break into a brand new category. So in the beginning, we were trying to, work with government agencies and hospitals and the frontline workers. And then we kind of settled into, really the B2B side of things and navigating all of that. So it's been crazy, but very happy to be busy. Absolutely.
It's amazing how that happens, right? Like, it's such an emotional and physical roller coaster, really, in a sense that, when everything happens and the economy just absolutely shuts down, you sort of think about, everything that could go wrong and everything that's going to happen. And the next thing you know, like you said, Megan, you're absolutely busier than you've ever been, probably, by making just some adaptations and sort of adjusting. I know that we're experiencing the same thing. Meg, you've been through that, and Stephen, I know that you have as well, just through the different roller coasters that's been involved with this thing. But riding a high wave, I think, and hopefully, there's some other folks that can sort of relate to that as well. Any insight or backstory as far as how you guys decided to get into manufacturing the masks and where that all started?
I think it might have been our VP of operations for actually our European sales had the idea to, hey, let's make masks. We have the fabric, we have the manufacturing capabilities here in LA. Of course, we're actually uniquely qualified to participate in this. And we have here, so we're in Los Angeles, and we have, when this all started, we had 56 cutting tables. And we quickly realized that by even doubling our capacity, we could really have an impact. And So we initially came out with a no-sew design. And the reason for that is because we could scale it so quickly and be a low-cost solution. So we used fabrics that we had in-house already in our supply chain. So, fabrics we would have used for our t-shirts and hoodies, and used that to mass produce these disposable single-ply fabric face covers. And we're producing up to 100 million every single week. So when we talk about volume, we truly are making a difference. And we've learned a lot as we've gone through this process. It's interesting because historically we've only ever worn a mask to protect ourselves. That's always what a mask has been about. Whether you're gardening or you're in a hospital setting, whatever it is, it's for your own protection. And this is the very first time that we're wearing masks to protect others. It's about community protection and flattening the curve. And so it's been interesting because of consumer perception about what a face cover should be. And so the mask style that we launched initially has had tremendous success in the, if you think business to business, essential workers, retailers, food service, people that need to have a clean mask for every shift. That's where we've had a lot of our successes. But on the consumer side, there still is that expectation about people who believe, well, I want protection for me. And so for that reason, we are going to be launching a 2-ply reusable sewn mask to be able to service both needs. So the way I think of it is you've got this high volume, low cost solution to outfit essential workers and help businesses reopen. And then you've got the consumer mask, reusable, a little bit more structured, depending on their needs. And then the reusable one is also perfect for decoration. So for our industry, I think it's going to be a really good fit.
Yep.
I think that's what I've been most inspired about. I think our industry is full of, we're all entrepreneurs. Whether you own your own business or you're working for a company, but you act as though it is your own business, and watching everyone retool their businesses and figure out how to and remain, find opportunity. It's been really remarkable to watch different organizations within our industry succeed and find their footing.
Sure. So Stephen, as a distributor, like what kind of issues are you having, or have you had any issues with trying to sort of sell it as that? Because I think there's a huge misconception out there as far as the general public and why they're wearing a mask. I don't think a lot of people do realize that it's source control and personal protection.
The funniest image I've seen of how to illustrate the use of a mask is actually, embarrassing me to say this, but it basically shows a person that says, if nobody was wearing pants and have you seen this? It's like you would get wet. It's like if you were just wearing pants and you peed, then your pants would get wet. But if we both wear pants and we both pee, it's like we're just getting ourselves wet. So I think it's a very good analogy, and I do need to take like 30 seconds. I've had a chance to think about some of the stuff I said from last week's message. And Megan, I know you weren't here to defend yourself, nor you may have no clue what I'm about to say. But last week, Jeff and Meg both presented the idea that it was very, very smart and wise of what you guys did to get a product out there that didn't exist for the initial. And I kind of dismissed that, and it wasn't an offense to Bella Canvas. My thought was that it just wasn't, to me, it didn't seem like the end all be all solution. But the more I've thought about that, that wasn't the intent, right? And I don't think it was supposed to be the long-term solution, more so than it is a B2B, an option to get something that wasn't available. And I think that was a need you guys certainly did meet. And I know Meg and I have talked about this as well. The concerns I think people have had is when they just haven't done a good job selling the pieces. It has nothing to do with the actual product. It has to do with, us as distributors not being smart about how we're pitching what the item actually is for and how to use it and selling it for the right price, as opposed to, some people taking advantage or price gouging, which inflates the perception of what the piece is. And I applaud you guys for what you did and coming up with a solution in the way you've done it. So I did need to apologize some backtrack a little bit from what I had said last week. So
well, thank you. I mean, we've learned, like I said, so much. Even just helping the end user understand what it is and what it isn't is an important part of the process. So we increase descriptions and video content, and how can we help our industry partners communicate that to the end user? And that's been tremendous as well. But to your point, there's, business leaders have, especially within those specific verticals, have really grasped on to the idea that, let's say from a liability perspective, if you're, it's Chipotle or McDonald's or a food restaurant chain, and you have workers coming in every day. I shared this with Meg recently, but living in LA, having a washer dryer in unit truly is a luxury. I just got one like 2 years ago. And so as you think about all these essential workers coming into a workplace, and the employer needs to know that face mask is clean and has no contaminants on it. From a liability perspective, how do you ensure that it was laundered the night before, that it was laundered properly? Those are all challenges that need to be considered. And the way that I think about our mask is it's an alternative to the 3-ply surgical paper mask. So something that looks like a mask you would wear in a hospital setting, that's not inviting or welcoming for a guest that maybe you're serving them food, or if you're a delivery person approaching someone's front door, you want it to look more like a health and wellness mask or a uniform. And so I think that that's really where we have our footing, is as a fabric alternative to a disposable mask.
I think to your point, avoiding, I'm sorry, Meg. Yeah, you can certainly avoid a lot of that liability if we're just, being transparent about what they are, right? They're not medical masks. They're a great option for a mask. And I think one of the things I mentioned last week jokingly, I was like, there's no mask police, right? If you've got something over your face, they're going to let you in the door if it says you require a mask. Like, it could be.
I've actually seen people walk into liquor stores with paper towels and a rubber.
Yeah, I mean, there's pictures of people with boxers on their heads. It's like,
with actual face mask, like they were like, I guess.
Yeah. So to say that it doesn't serve a purpose is wrong. It definitely does, and it gets something out there in a quantity that we didn't have in a time that we desperately needed, and I think that's great. And Meg, you had a question. I have some other questions, but I want you to.
Yeah, Meg, I want to kick it over to you because you've been really silent thus far.
I just wanted to give my own personal little tidbit. Right before the masks came out, I had worn a regular one that someone had made for me, with the pleats and the fabric, and I was like, yeah, I feel safe. I went to the grocery store and I actually couldn't breathe. Twice I had to take the mask off because I was starting to have almost an anxiety attack. And I know that's not me, but I could not breathe through it. And then I went and I took my Abella mask, and I was like, I just felt, yes, it is t-shirt material, but that's great because I can breathe through it. And I wear mine all the time now. I actually have a bunch of samples. So here's the thing, summer's coming. It's lightweight. It's perfect. It's breathable. You can talk through it. It answers that problem that we're having for, just having these USA made type masks. So wear your mask, people.
Well, and like N95 masks are super thick, multi-layer masks. It truly does. It reduces your oxygen intake, which can make you dizzy, lightheaded. And those really should be saved for healthcare professionals. But to your point,
because we want them passing out.
Yes. But they wear them for short periods of time. But if you're working an 8-hour shift and you need to be able to breathe and communicate, again, it's not about protecting yourself, but it's about protecting others. So what is the purpose of a fabric mask? Whether it's a single ply, a double ply, 3-ply, it serves the same purpose.
And I will say, I think having 3 different levels of masks, it really helps us as marketers and entrepreneurs to be able to offer, moving forward, now that things are starting to open back up, a good, better, best solution. So you can offer, an inexpensive t-shirt, a value cap bag, and a mask for under $7. You send that out to the distributors. They see that, they're like, wow, I can get 4 or 5 products, including some PPE, for under $7. Let me push this. and then we do a B level and a C level. So I think having that third option is going to be really amazing. And I say this every week. This is our time. We should be doing our jobs. We are a branding industry. If you don't do any type of advertising for your product, what is the percentage that it's going to succeed? So I have a customer that has a retail outlet down in Sea Isle City, and he's just really down in the dumps, and I feel so bad. I'm always trying to come up with ideas. And he's like, Meg, I don't know if I want to do the mask. I don't And I have to warn people if they're coming in, they have to do signs. I'm like, well, it's easy. You put a sign up on the door. I gave him a link, and I did a quick mock-up of the Heather tan with a light blue imprint because it's a beach resort.
Yeah.
And I said, if someone doesn't walk in, you hand them one. Now you're a walking billboard for your clothing store, and it's super easy. So we do think masks in general or face coverings are going to be the new trend. We talked about this last week. We're going to want the masks to match our outfits. And I think being able to offer those and have so many different options really is going to speak to us as professionals in this branding industry. PPE is the new norm. It's what we're all selling. It's saving our businesses. It's saving our customers. So now we have to put a spin on it and make it so it fits our models. So
I think right now it's about getting, like, everyone's very concerned about the economy and when are we going to open back up? And it's this balance between, helping to keep flattening the curve, but then also how do we help businesses reopen in a safe manner? And so masks are going to be an important part of that process over the next couple of months. But as we look to Q4 and even the next year, to your point about masks matching your outfit, I think that it's going to be a requirement. Hopefully we're going to, kids are going to get to go back to school. Are they going to be required to have a mask? Are they going to be required to have a mask in their backpacks? Are we going to go to concerts again or sporting events? I think through next year, it's just going to be a new staple. And so it's an opportunity for our industry to really shine and decorate and provide the service.
Yeah, so I just want to weigh in. There's a couple of people weighing in on Facebook. Just want to get to that, and Steve, we'll jump back to you. So Jeremy Witt weighed in, and it sort of went hand in hand with what you just said, Megan. He's saying it's definitely uncomfortable, but he's still going to stay safe when most states go green, and definitely want to continue wearing my mask. Jeremy Picker also chimes in, special guest from last week. He says that, for clarity, like Steven, he loves Bella for the blank masks. Printing on those masks is where he's having the problems since they're a one-time disposable mask.
Yeah. And that's part of why we are launching the two-ply reusable for that very purpose. Because when we initially started this, while of course we wanted it to be a revenue stream for partners in the channel, at the same time it was with a different mindset. It was about how do we get masks to the world and how do we do it quickly, how do we scale, understanding the risks with contaminants and all that, and understanding that disposable can actually it has a real benefit, and then pivoting now to understanding that decoration is such an important part of our industry and the added value and the perceived value as well. It needs to be something more substantial, and so for that reason, we have that solution coming out. It should be in stock end of next week. So.
Oh, great!
Nice.
That'd be awesome. That'd be super awesome.
Steven, there was something you were gonna say before I went to Facebook.
It's okay. I was just gonna say something witty, like how long is it gonna take before we have wireless chargers built into our face masks or something like that.
I saw a wine straw, like a mask. I think it was Lisa Bibb. She had it.
You could drink through it, but it's still filtered. Yes. Hey, actually, I do have kind of a entrepreneurial type of a question, and I've had this conversation with others, but Megan, take this and run with it. How long will it take before there's some sort of requirement of transparency to the masks for security, like places like banks or NFL stadiums or things like that, so they can identify faces? Is that something that's R&D is thinking about, or?
For security purposes, for if you walk into a bank, you mean not having something that looks like you're about to rob?
Yeah.
I think we're, as far as those expectations, I think right now, like, for example, I went to the grocery store and I was buying alcohol, and I fully expect, as one does, and going through my red wine stash at an alarming rate. I fully expected them for me to ask me to remove my mask to ID me, and they didn't, which honestly I was pretty surprised. So to your point, security going to sporting events, that's an interesting question. I don't think that it
we're not there yet, but
right. But current climate, I don't think that you can ask someone to remove their mask realistically.
Right.
So maybe that's a really good question. Someone's going to come up with some clear material that you can see through it.
Plastic bags with a new.
I think I saw them.
Plastic bags.
Suffocating.
Yeah.
It doesn't let any air in. You're good.
I saw one that had like a clear opening, and it was for deaf students. So how they read mouth.
Sign, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So I don't know if it was like a concept or if it was something that came out. I just saw it on Facebook. So
clear opening, so it was just like clear film or something over that spot, or
like a mesh or something.
A mesh filter or something like that.
Could be. I was half paying attention. It was in the middle of Maskageddon, and I couldn't really think straight.
I'm intrigued.
I'm interested to see how well that does against actual source control. If there's not something there actually, catching that.
Yeah. No, there has to be something there.
There'd have to be something,
I don't
right?
remember what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys. It's interesting though, kind of talking about the transparency and the different options with masks. Chris Blakesley, our president, just sat down with ASI earlier this week. I think it was. My days blend together. Maybe it was last week. Just to have a conversation around, our industry is so well versed in safety when it comes to different types of products, especially those that are importing on their own, drinkware safety. We have so many different kind of oversight that goes into that. And our industry is, I think, well known for those types of being informed. But face masks, it's a whole new world. And even the FDA has never had to regulate face covers at this scale before. And so they're constantly evolving their recommendations. And what's interesting is end of April, they actually came out with some new guidance around face covers. And they've been clear out of the gate that you can't make any medical claims around fabric face masks unless they're FDA approved, and they're not at this point evaluating any more fabric masks. So if you were medically approved by them before, you have that FDA approval, but at this point, under their Emergency Use Authorization Act, you can legally manufacture and resell face masks. But what they came out saying was they are requiring mask manufacturers to track every point of sale and who it went to, and if there's any adverse reactions. So if someone were to come back and complain about, they had a reaction or a rash or shortness of breath, they have to be able to log and track all of that. And they also came out saying that manufacturers cannot make any claims about antimicrobial treatments. And so we're seeing a lot of different brands in our, even in our industry, marketing their masks as antimicrobial. And so that's something to be informed about, because even though you don't have to be FDA approved, you still need to be in compliance with those new regulations, which is pretty interesting.
I wonder too if they're eventually going to have to make it so people notate whether it's a permanent versus one-time use piece.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me eventually if people don't know the difference between one or the other, because there's just so much stuff out there if that has to be noted.
Well, Nick, real quick, I just want to say this just because in the beginning, there was some disconnect and is this disposable? Is it reusable? So I just want to talk about this here and now real quick, because I know I'm going to get a ton of emails from everybody after this. So you guys are saying they are disposable. However, this was I think a point last year as well. They are made of the t-shirt material. That was one of the first two questions I was getting. Are they printable? Are they washable? Technically, they are t-shirt material, so they are, right? However, you are providing these masks. They are 100% human touch free. So nobody's touching them. They are polybagged and packed in 120, and they are shipped right to the customer. So technically, you can print them. Technically, you can wash them. They're t-shirt material. But once you open that pack up and you are touching them, screen printing them, dusting them, they have to be washed. Then, okay, well, how hot is that water? Is that water going to disinfect it? And again, like you said, in LA, it's a luxury to have a washer and dryer. I'm sure it's like that in New York City too. And these are two hotbeds. So, I was recommending people use an iron for the heat, But
And the CDC has said that's effective as well.
yeah. And I just want to make sure, like, we are recommending them as like a daily use. You definitely have to wash them, have to do something, dispose them, use a new one before going on to the next day and reusing them. I know I tried to wash them and it's like the socks. They go into the wash and they don't come out. I haven't found a single one. I'll be in a meeting in 6 months and I'll be like, what is this? And I'll just pull out of my bra or something. So I'm looking forward to that.
With decorating on a single ply as well, consider, I mean, the spray tack alone, that's what is going to keep the face mask on the palette. That's the side that would then go on your face. So even with a 2-ply, that's still the same case. So it's something that we have to take into consideration as decorators. Maybe you don't put the decoration right on the front where the user breathes in, because the FDA is not regulating inks and the safety of breathing in, those, exactly. So even on our reusable mask, which is intended to be decorated, doing it on the left or right cheek, and then, washing it before it goes out. Those are all things that should be taken into consideration, just because this is a whole new world. So decorated masks, that's all things that need to be considered. But
so that's actually where we're having a lot of success there with the, manufacturing overseas. They're actually just printing the top layer, before, so that you're not actually getting the spray tack on the bottom layer on the inside. But like you'd mentioned, that, a lot of times we're actually recommending that you put it off to the, left side or right side as opposed to right in front. Unless you're doing sublimation, then at that point, it really doesn't matter. You can do the whole thing. And it doesn't block.
Heat transfer would be great. Heat transfers as well.
I think that in the dye sub.
Yeah.
So real quick question. I don't know if anyone else knows about FAM. It's your masterclass that you put out. Are you guys, I know we just did the 2.0. I want to ask, I know we have to wrap it up soon, how it came to be, and do you think the 3.0 will include masks?
So good questions. How it came to be. So the idea actually was Chris Blakesley, our president, and we were at a team dinner one night and just started to brainstorm and unpack it. And I think he was inspired by Masterclass, which is a series. I'm sure Facebook is retargeting, but maybe it's just me, but where they have experts from different fields come on and teach classes with different lessons. And we thought, wow, what an amazing thing. Looking at our industry as far as education, obviously ASI and PPI have their own programs, but we just felt like there was a real opportunity to bring and aggregate all of the information and knowledge that we have about the industry and apparel and the shift and all of those things, and put it all in one place for our partners and our customers to come and learn more. And it's been absolutely incredible. We have 5,000 users going through the platform today. About 2,000 are FAM certified at this point. So yeah, very cool. FAM 2.0 just launched. Honestly, right now we've been so focused on masks that.
What's the acronym? What's the FAM?
Fashion Apparel Masterclass.
Got it. Okay.
FAM. So really, you should be FAM certified.
Yeah, you're cast and masked. You need to be FAMmed.
You need to be FAM
Exactly.
cast masked.
Yeah. I could see masks being a lesson in the future. Honestly, someone asked me a question about t-shirts the other day, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Really
what?
Who are you?
So I think my hope is that in the coming months, we'll start to, think about life outside of face covers in the near future. But I could definitely see it being even just a spotlight on how we retooled our operation and what that looks like for our industry and the impact it had on our industry during what would have otherwise been a very challenging time. I think will be an interesting story to tell.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And we're also doing through the mask endeavor a big donation-based program. So we have at this point committed to donating a minimum 5 million masks. We've donated 1.5 million so far. Another 1.5 million are going out over the next 2 weeks. So they're committed. And we're working with it's all about 501(c)(3) tax qualifications, but really helping those in need. So whether it's homeless organizations or, Save the Children, organizations that are helping those that would otherwise not have access to PPE type materials.
Yeah, I
Sure.
saw a couple of those donation places where the friends of different bigger, like inner cities, I would assume, the poverty level. And I thought that was really awesome. I think that struck a chord with me. That's why I'm glad you brought it up, because I wanted to ask you about it. I know you're running.
Absolutely.
That's so awesome. I think when anytime a company has an opportunity to give back, it's just a good feel good, and it's good PR too. I guess it helps.
So does anybody have any idea where you might be able to find a source with maybe like some virtual trade shows or something that you might be able to talk to some vendors about, maybe some additional PPE materials they might be selling?
I think the promo show.
Ah, that's a really good
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, promoshow.com, right?
Great transition.
Yeah, you should definitely go check that out, because the podcast is just about over now. So I'm not going to be too offended if you left and went to promoshow.com if you're not watching us there. And then you just check that out. You go visit a couple vendors that are in there. There's over 130 vendors, exhibiting in that space, virtual trade show booths, learning everything you need to know about all the things that all of our great promotional product suppliers are selling. Any closing statements from any of you folks before we jump for the day?
Did we have anything on Facebook that needed to be answered?
Nope, nothing else has come through. Jeremy Pickers mentioned a couple things about maybe a pallet arm that Ryanette's created that is eliminating the need for adhesive, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It's the entrepreneurial spirit in its best form, watching all the different companies adapt to the new needs.
Yeah, it's really cool to actually be a part of that too. To be playing the game as opposed to sitting on the bench.
Absolutely.
It could be a lot worse.
100%.
So absolutely. Jeremy Witt just chimed in, says thank you so much for the info, and thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. Any closing arguments from you guys, or are we gonna go ahead and jump for the day and wrap it up?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Megan. It was awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Anytime.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up then, guys. Thank you so much. And stay tuned next week, 12 noon on Facebook at Promo Show PC, or you can go to promoshow.com and check us out there live next week at noon.